I think that data visualization can allow you to speak loud and clear with a graph. This is a pretty typical default graph for a dot plot like this. In a lot of softwares, this would be sort of the default. I will say in DataClassroom, I had to sort of um, ugly up the default a little bit. I had to take away some color and make it a little bit less visually appealing. But this is a pretty standard kind of default-esque graph. The you can draw the conclusion from this that the exposed habitats tended to have higher species richness, and there's nothing technically wrong with this graph. I think this graph is clear, but it's not loud. And so some things that I would do if I was going to make this graph speak more loudly is I would start playing with color and spacing and labels to make this a little bit more clear of a picture. So some things that I would do is I would pick some custom colors. I might do some semi-transparent points there, and then I would choose a distinctly different color for the other group. And then I would probably make it semi-transparent to match. And then that's my first change. Another change I would make, and I'm going to open up the appearance menu over here on the right, and we're gonna change a lot of things here. So one, I would make these data points bigger. There's not that much data in this experiment, and so I can make these fairly large. I have plenty of space to work with, but I can still see the points, and the semi-transparent nature, lets me see those. So I can see my points clearly. I might drop my grid lines on here because I think it's just a little busy. I might even drop the edges all the way off the points and go with this. And then I'm going to set this up to do something that is going to highlight my difference in means, which when you think about speaking loudly with a graph, you want to think about what is the main story or the main point that you're trying to get across. And the main point here is that we have a difference between these two groups, right? The exposed habitat has greater species richness than the sheltered. So I want to do something to emphasize that. And it's fine to show the raw points. I actually think that's really valuable. You can tell a little bit about the distribution. You can tell a little bit about the sample size, but adding those big chunky bars to show the average, that really hammers home that, hey, this green bar is taller than this blue bar, right? There's a difference here. Another thing I would do is I would make these labels much larger. Again, if you want people to read something, then you should make it very, very easy to read. So I'm gonna crank up my axis label size pretty large so we can see those. And then even the markers, so where the labels for the two treatments, I'm going to make those a bit larger, and maybe my numbers. The actual numbers are maybe the thing that aren't as important to make super big and super readable, because I think you want people to get the story more than you want them to get the actual values of species richness. And then the last thing I would do here is I would think about the dimensions of this graph. And if you're trying to emphasize a difference that you're illustrating in that vertical plane, the difference between the heights of those bars, I'm going to take my graph and I'm going to scrunch it up so that it's more of a rectangle shape like that. And that's the final figure. I would copy that to my clipboard, and that's the figure that's going to go, in my lab report or in my publication. And that's what I would want to show.